Episode 152. Are these comics going to make good film and television shows? We have DC vs. Vampires #2. We have Avengers Assemble #1 and Space Ghost, bringing him back from this coast to coast. Let's check it out right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zanca. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And remember to give me that like, give me that subscribe if you can. I am trying to close the channel out, and maybe you can help me out with that. So, and also, we are doing a couple of things. We're finally just got the Lords of LA issue 2 in. It is fully complete. I did find a couple of errors. This is my test copy, so there's a couple of text things I have to change out, but my donors will be getting this really, really soon. You can see the artwork's really good. So yeah, so if you want one, let me know, because I haven't gone my full print run yet, but I'm going to. But you can DM me if you want one of them. And also, on October 1st, me and Mark Spears have hooked up. He does a lot of the cover art for Marvel, DC, Spawn, Vampirella, etc. He just did a Green Lantern cover with Jon Stewart. And you can see the artwork here is amazing. We're doing Classic Monsters. It is a card game where you're playing as the classic monsters. And it's pretty amazing. But anyway, you can check out the link in the description below when we launch on Kickstarter. The beginning of October, and of course we're taking advantage of the Halloween season. Alright, so let's jump into DC vs. Vampires. This is #2. This is World War V, as opposed to World War Z. And so, yeah, I guess I started going back and reading the original one. And, I mean, the original one was okay. It's a little bit... I mean, I think that the deceased stuff is better. This was, it's kind of already out of my head for the most part, and I only just read it a few weeks ago. So in this particular one, yeah, I know about Green Lantern. I think Hal Jordan was one of the first ones that got turned in the last one, and then he ended up turning Wonder Woman, who is still alive at this point. And Damian is also a vampire, but I guess he went after Batgirl and killed Batgirl, and she was the queen of the vampires there. He's running a different sect of vampires. And I guess, you know, the other Green Lanterns came in, and I guess they got squashed. And you have Ollie and Black Canary that are all working. They're humans. They're working in tandem. But now the other sect wants Damian's head. So that's the situation there. And why I'm so confused about why Aquaman looks like Deathstroke. That's actually Aquaman there on the bottom. He looks like Deathstroke. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, he's talking to Lois because they want peace, and the only way they're going to get that is if they get Damian for them for revenge, and that's the story there. And they're like, well, we really can't just give him up. Talia, who is human, is not going to go for that. But there's the whole team there. That is, you know, I don't even know how some of the team members work there. I don't know what's going on with Swamp Thing there. You got all spiked up. And then Killer Croc. I don't know, you can Killer Croc looks kind of small there. But they're going to infiltrate a lab, I guess, that has, you know, blood in it, where they're doing blood production. I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah, but they go inside, and it's, like, not what they were expecting. And they're like, what is going on? So, yeah, so then we have this whole thing out in, with John Constantine going on with the Spectre. And I guess he's visiting him in a spectral form. And there's Jason Blood. And I don't know who's what here, but John Constantine doesn't look like himself. I think he might be a vampire. But anyway, he wakes up, and he's all kind of emaciated, too. And Mary Marvel comes in. I'm not sure how all that's working. So, yeah. And we keep jumping around from one storyline to the other. And I guess this guy's a vampire, and he has his daughter with him, and they're not letting him take the daughter. And he's like, look, if I was going to kill her, I would have done it by now. And instead, he jumps out the window and puts his mask on. It looks like it's Mr. Miracle. Again, I'm confused by some of this because there's no lead up. I mean, we followed that guy, but we had no idea it was Mr. Miracle. So now we're into Talia and Alfred. And Talia's like, yeah, I'm not going to be giving up my son, etc. But then Wonder Woman shows up. And now we have a little battle with Wonder Woman. And she is just basically toying with Talia. And she's like, yeah, you're not bad for a human, but you can't hurt me. And like she breaks Talia's arm where the bone is sticking out and all this other stuff. So, you know, they get into the gore a little bit. And, you know, Alfred has just no chance in hell. So she's like, you know, grabbed him, etc. And she's going, and, you know, he's in, you know, trying to basically crawl away, trying to look for a weapon to use. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to let you crawl as far as you want to crawl, and then I'm going to kill you. But he ends up getting a Green Lantern ring, comes to him when he opens the box, and it actually responds to him, and it blasts her away. So I think that's interesting. I kind of like that idea of Alfred having a ring. Of course, in the regular continuity, there is no Alfred. Alfred's dead. So he almost looks like Sinestro there a little bit. But anyway, so I kind of like that whole situation. And then we get this Batmite thing at the end. I don't know why we constantly have backup stories on this stuff. And why does DC versus Vampires have a backup story? It makes no sense. So I think we'll get a Deceased movie before we would get a DC versus Vampires movie. I guess that Deceased is better, but yeah, that would be kind of cool. This Marvel was, I think, the first one, of course, to do it. I think that Deceased is actually better because they use the anti-life equation from Darkseid, which actually makes more sense about how zombies would come about. But Marvel Zombies is, of course, more famous for it. So yeah, it would be nice. It would be neat to see something like on the screen. That even if they did a TV show on that, I don't know. I don't know what the state of how Marvel and DC are handling TV shows nowadays. I would, maybe it's not good, but I don't know. Superman and Lois was actually a very good show, so I don't know. All right, so let's jump into Avengers Assemble. I was very leery about this because Steve Orlando is not a good writer, and I have now seen it again. I can actually confirm that again, that Steve Orlando is not a good writer. Why he has these characters all mumbled up in here? Like, I like Photon. This is the characters that I liked in here. Photon, She-Hulk, Captain America, and Hawkeye. I love all that. That's all. And I don't know why they kept Jarvis as a human. The movie did him as a AI, and I think that worked a lot better. But they brought him back as an Alfred because it was almost like Jarvis was always a knockoff of Alfred, and it never worked. And when they did in the movie where he was AI, that really worked, I thought. That was actually a good move. But anyway, the dialogue in here is just god-awful. I mean, the dialogue is horrible. But we start out with Sin, and she finds this. We see all the action like off-screen, which is weird. Instead of adding one more page where we can have an action where we can see Sin doing that. This is the green. This is Red Skull's daughter. But anyway, she finds this thing, and that she's the ultimate villain here, I guess. But again, the artwork is decent, but the dialogue is just god-awful. And this just looks, just looks weird, having this guy dressed up in Avengers Mansion just walking around. It doesn't work. And Shang-Chi, I don't think works in here either. I do like Wasp. Wasp works in here. And then they totally changed Shang-Chi to how he is in the movies, where the 10 rings are from the movie, and they even augment that to where it doesn't make any sense, where now he can teleport with the rings? When did this happen? I don't know. I would love to see a good Avengers book again, but I don't think this is it. And even the one that's occurring right now that has Storm in it, I didn't like the last issue. I got the new issue, so we'll see how it is. But yeah, then we have the Serpent Society in here, and again we're fighting with Sin, and the Serpent Society is fighting amongst themselves. But yeah, so there's so it's like the mask she has is dealing with, I guess, creating rage amongst them, and their eyes are glowing, they're fighting one another, etc. So, I mean, that's a kind of a cool shot right there where they fight against what's controlling them, and Sin's like, "You're not gonna get away from me." Meanwhile, this is really weird. They have the rest of the group meets up at Avengers Mansion, including one of the chicks from the little girls from Power Pack, and Hawkeye's there. So why is this not alerting Avengers Mansion that these guys are under attack? I don't understand that. Those guys are completely oblivious, and if there's this much destruction going on, why isn't the local news covering it where, again, they're going to be able to see it? I mean, even if they're just monitoring YouTube, they'll be able to see that they're under attack. But anyway, then She-Hulk shows up, and that's when we see the girl from the Power Pack, and they're switching back and forth to one of the group entering in the Avengers Mansion and them chatting to this battle going back and forth, and it's very jarring because it's like, oh, you were just joking around. And then we have, these guys fighting for their lives, and then we're back and forth. Okay, here's the next guy showing up, and then we're in a battle. It's just very jarring. I don't understand how this pacing was supposed to work, where we're just interrupting the battle almost every other page. And they give the shield to Photon, and she barrels towards. Oh yeah, that was kind of gross. I guess she goes up her nose, Wasp, and she basically snorts her out. Weird, man. Weird. But then Photon hits her in the head with the shield and knocks her out. So I thought that was a good idea. But I just, and they're sitting around, playing cards or whatever they're doing while the rest of their team is under attack. I'm just not getting this, man. And then we have Night Thrasher show up, and he brings them gear, like jackets and stuff that have the Avengers logo on it. I don't know, man. And then there's back to the Serpent Society again. So, and then Mephisto shows up. So I guess the whole thing over there was just, a distraction so that they can raise Mephisto. But meanwhile, the other guys were just playing cards in the mansion. They didn't know what the hell was going on anyway. So I don't know. I may get the second issue just to see if it progresses. But it's pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad. So, I mean, just from what you can see, from what I just explained, yeah, it's pretty bad. All right, so let's jump into Space. Should I say it? Space Ghost. That's what they used to say in the cartoon. But this has Jace and I forgot Jan. Jace and Jan are brothers and sister. Their father was working on something that had to do with AI. It's inside the monkey called Blip, and their father was killed. Space Ghost came and rescued them, and then brought them on as his interns. So they have jetpacks, and they have the packs that allow them to go invisible and stuff like that. And he said, "Stay there. I'm going to go deal with Zorak, who escaped from prison or whatever else." And they couldn't because they got a distress code, and they're like, "We have to go save them." So they did, but then they ended up getting taken captive by Zorak and used against Space Ghost, who now had no choice but to confront him. And that's where we left it. So Space Ghost shows up at Zorak's lair and beats the crap out of all the security guys in his ghost form. And this is a amazing page. Look at that. That is one amazing piece of art. With him just holding the guy up. That's pretty cool, dude. And now he faces off over to Zorak, and Zorak's like, "You're done, man, or I'm going to kill them. So you're going to kneel." And he does. He kneels before Zorak to save the kids. And the kids are, saying, "Oh, well, we've got to do something. We can't let him, surrender for us." And Jace decides that he's going to attack the big guy, and it doesn't work out well for him. So thankfully, I think it's Joe Casey, David Pepose, is taking into account that a child is not going to be able to beat this guy. So, and especially without any weapons. So they decide they're going to leave the kids there, and he starts saying, "Look, if I don't make it, I just want to know that I'm sorry." So they're doing a brother and sister thing. And again, I'm glad that Pepose does take the... And it's very easy to take and jump over the human side of the characters and just make it an action piece. But I like that he's taking those moments to deal with how a child or even a regular human or an adult would deal with mortality. The fact that they may not win. So he's not fighting back, really, and Zorak is just whooping him. So he's like, "Look, I want you to use all your energy to blast this thing so that I can release this other god type thing." And he's like, "That's all just a myth." Well, he said, "Well, if you're just a myth, why don't you do it?" And we'll see. So he does, because he really, again, he has no choice because he thinks he's protecting the kids, and he doesn't really think it's real anyway. So then all of a sudden, this guy gets hit, and they don't understand how. And then they realize the monkey came to save them. Again, he has AI, so he has modes of thinking. And he shoots him with a gun. So they get out. And I'm trying to see where... So they get into this big battle. And they're like, "Oh, I'm glad you got out. Now I can fight," etc. And Jace shoots someone in here. I didn't really see where he shot him, but he does. And we have this big, space, this laser battle going on continuously, but somewhere in here, Jay shoots someone. And again, I don't know where it is. But anyway, the god-type creature is now coming out of the portal, so now they have to close the portal. So we've seen that 100 times. And all these locusts are coming out, because I think that's also what Zorak is, of the locust. But yeah, so, this stuff, the artwork is great. The action is great. There's, high stakes going on. So this is really well written in comparison to what Avengers was like. But they finally get to close the portal. The thing goes back. But I guess some of the locusts did escape. And he slices... Space Ghost up, but Space Ghost doesn't stop. And again, the artwork and the storyline, he knocks him in there. And finally, we have this aftermath, and Jace is like, "I think I just killed someone. I can't live with that, so I'm quitting." Pretty amazing. That's really good stuff. So we even have repercussions of a child killing someone and him not being able to live with himself and therefore quitting the team. That's really good stuff. We don't get to see that in comics very often. So let's do a recap. So I think Space Ghost is great. I think that David Pepose is doing a really good job with this. This was a very silly, over-the-top cartoon, which he's bringing it really into reality to a certain degree anyway. It's still sci-fi, but he's grounding it. And also, he's making Space Ghost a lot more heroic, which I really appreciate. And he's making him, almost like a Batman-type character, which I really like. Avengers Assemble, this is not good. It's not a good start, and I'll get the second one just to see if it gets any better, but I don't expect it to be. Again, I was cringing at some of the dialogue that was in there. And DC versus Vampires, yeah, I'm going to get this done till the end. I'm going to see how this one goes all the way to the end. Will it make a good film? Maybe, but I think the deceased one would be better. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate that. Remember to also give me that like, give me that subscribe if you can. And remember that down below in the description, you'll find the link to Mythlord's Classic Monsters card game, where you can play as your favorite classic monster, whether it's Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature in the Black Lagoon, or the werewolf. And you're building your monster army, and you're fighting over locations and things like that. It's really lots of fun. But anyway, definitely check that out in the description below. All right, thanks again, guys, and you guys have a great week. Check out some other videos as well. All right, bye-bye.